Got it. Hi, Joe.
Setting up. I thought I had the live stream already.
It's on YouTube now.
Is it? Oh, great.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
There we go. I muted.
Oh, I have to.
So, yeah, yay, we're live. Hopefully, people show up. But if not, I'm sure we can find something to do or talk about. Have you done any more work on your clipboard tool?
Yeah, still working on it. Not as much as I would like, but there's some progress. I tried to do something and just failed and abandoned that. I was trying to reveal the invisible code inside the editor. So to see the enter, to see the tab.
Oh, yeah.
Thing we see frequently in editors.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple as I was expecting, especially when you would like to edit the control, the text, and having these code being revealed. So that's one. I did a few steps and then I have to step back on that way because that topic, because it was not going the way I was expecting.
Yeah. That's I still say the webinar you led on the encoding and learning that was just, that stuff can be so complex, you know, and or abstract maybe is a better way, because it really isn't that quote unquote complex, right? It's just hard to really wrap your brain around it when you've never done it and understand the different types of encoding and
yeah.
Especially when you're an American and you don't even grow up with other languages, right? And it's, even though that's,
you know, I think in the first 30 years of computer history, there was nothing outside the American English.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, ASCII 128 characters, and so it was simpler in that time. But now it's good. What I found, I really like. I found a list of all the Unicode characters that can also be icons or small images that you can use. So, for example, if I show you the buttons, let me just close this, open this, and run this, I think.
Yeah,
so you see these small buttons here.
Hold on.
Do I share my screen? Yeah.
You
so
are.
these small,
there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So these small here, it's buttons with only one character, but the character is a Unicode character. So it can mean, in this case, it means add it to the right or remove it.
Sure.
Or if I have multiple, remove all. So only one character. Later, when it will be finished, I will add tooltips. So when you will mouse over the buttons, it will tell what it does. So if it's not clear, you can still have more information. And I'm waiting before doing that because having these tooltips being revealed, you need to know the order of your buttons or of your control. So if you add one button somewhere, you have to rename or to change the number every tooltip you have in your script. So I'm waiting to do that. But so this will be, because it's not coded yet. So to add a rule, to edit a rule, that's the one that is the less obvious. I haven't found so I can show you the page where I got this, because if it's a nice way to have very small labels.
Yes. Well, and correct. Well, actually, I should ask you this. Are you planning, as you did in QAP, to have this available for people in different languages?
Yes, but not at the beginning.
Yeah, but that gets back to,
yeah, it's more it's international.
You don't want to put an E there, right? Because it may not be an E in other languages.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, yeah.
So that's the page where there are thousands of. So you see my scroll box here is very small because there's a lot. I'm just at the half now. So there are series that are not usable. For example, these one here, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's not even visible on the web page. There are series where you have all the numbers and letters, but in a more graphical way.
And do you happen to know is with these, like these,
you have dominoes. If you want to play domino, you have the domino. Excuse me, I interrupted you.
That's all right. It's all right. Yeah, that's funny. You know, that's an important one, Jean. Thank you for interrupting me.
For example, yeah.
I use those a lot. Yeah, that I use that in my. You've probably seen it. My Autohotkey newsletter, right? I use it because it helps it pop. What I was going to ask you was, do you know what this would probably still all work on XP at least, correct? But maybe
you need to have Unicode. It's Unicode, so you have to. So I know it works in the script I do. I'm using the 64-bit runtime, but I think it works also with the 32-bit runtime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another one. When you're new to programming, that's confusing as well, because we talk about ASCII and Unicode, and there's a lot of different encodings, and then there's the bitness of your program, and often people will get. It's very, again, it's simple. It's just a lot of information in different aspects, and it's hard in your brain to realize those aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
I was, let me share this with you. I was working on, now I'm going to make a better looking one, but I was trying to make some graphs of like, hey, before Autohotkey, here's the amount of time on a given week or whatever you want to put it, that you're working on the mundane work. And then this is the important stuff. Right. But I think it's probably even more on average, just for everybody. Right. It's probably more time spent on this than this. I think I need to change that ratio. And after 1 year, it kind of gets to where you're doing much better at spending more time on the strategy. And then, after several years, hopefully, if you've been, sticking with it, you get to spend a lot more of your time on strategy and not the mundane stuff.
Yeah. By automating the mundane stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, good.
But yeah, it's just it's, and I don't know if I could probably find it, but there was a meme I had the other day. I think I put it in the newsletter of time is money, and whether you're spending it or investing it. And thankfully, anyone who shows up here and watches this, they are trying to invest it, right? They're trying to learn so they can be more efficient in the future, and which is also why you and I partner up a lot. Is why would I learn how to do a lot of this stuff in Autohotkey when QAP already does that stuff for me? So that's when I'm like, it's a no-brainer to you don't have to know Autohotkey in order to use QAP, but those that do know Autohotkey still should be using Autohotkey for a lot of things.
Yeah, and you can call your script, your Autohotkey script, by the quick access pop-up menu, just to organize your script and make it easy to access them. Yeah.
Let me actually show you. We can just, I'll move this in case I start dumping some text. But here is my QAP, and then from when I'm doing my newsletter, I know I showed this the other day a little bit about it, but even what I realized was, hey, if I'm doing HTML and I want like to reference the webinars or podcast, right? So when I do this, it dumps in the snippet. And before I had this bit where it would put the image, right? And it would allow me to have that image, of the podcast thing in my newsletter. But then I realized, well, wait a minute, again, this is a template. So why don't I give them the link, so if they click the picture, it takes them to the podcast site. Right. And I'm like, so I went through, and you can see like under here, under all these courses, for all of these things and for all of these things, I now have those templates done. So whenever I want to use them, it's again, I do it once. Yeah. And it took me a little bit of time, don't get me wrong, but now I can crank through this stuff and put them in there. And I know they're going to be right. I don't have to test nearly as much, because I know once I test it once, I'm like, it's good. It's So, and to your point here, okay, hold on one second. All of these, like under my FFmpeg, these all launch different Autohotkey scripts using FFmpeg, but you can do whatever with it.
We had a topic that we discussed by email, Joe, and we discussed last week, I think, with Dylan, about launching a script from Autohotkey.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk with you about that. And since we don't have users
Sure.
in question for now, we can talk about
Yeah.
that and interrupt it if you have someone coming in.
Yeah.
So you sent me this. I'll share.
Yeah, Dylan. Well, it started from our live call where we were looking at your tool, talking about being able to dynamically, inject Autohotkey code into your tool, kind of thing, right? And I had mentioned there's the Code Quick tester from GeekDude and RaptorX's Autohotkey toolkit. I should have mentioned Studio because it also has that capacity. And actually, Site for Autohotkey also has a way for doing it as well, for not saving a file and just running what you select on the screen, which is really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But
so I looked at it, and it's probably more flexible, a little more complex, but in the end, it's doing what I'm already doing. No, okay. I'll share. Okay, I'll share the code you sent me.
Yeah, sure.
This code here. So I didn't run it, but just looking at it, I see that what it does, it uses the Autohotkey runtime that you need to provide by giving here the path. Mm-hmm. You need here to give the path to the Autohotkey runtime. Okay. So it still needs the user to have the Autohotkey runtime in order to be able to launch a script from your script, to launch some code from your script, code that the user would enter. So that's probably a good way that could be integrated in various ways in your code. But I still like the way I do it now, which is just to have instead of providing the executable, the runtime here, you just give the runtime with the name of the script that you want to run. Mm-hmm. And you create a text file that has the name of the script. So for example, if your script is hello world, so you would name the runtime hello world.exe. Oh, okay. And you create a text file hello world.ahk, so a script. And when you launch the executable, it will check if there's a file with the same name in the folder, in the same folder, which the ahk extension, then it will auto execute this file. So it's in the end, it does the same. You still have to provide to embed the runtime inside your package when you deliver the application, if you deliver it to someone else. So I'm just doing it a different way than the way it's done there. But
can I bug you for a second though? And I don't know if you know this minutia, this level of detail in what you just described. But let's say I had messagebox.exe. Yeah. And then I had messagebox.ahk in the same folder. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
And then I say, you know what? I really want to change my script. So I'm only going to go edit the messagebox.ahk file to change it slightly. And even though I had at one point compile, or wait a minute, now that's where I'm confused. That first initial one, the messagebox.exe, was that a compiled version of the other one? Or did I just change?
No, that's the runtime. That's the runtime. So let me just
it's find the Autohotkey exe renamed. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. All right, I get it.
Yeah. So I'll show you the file here. So I think it's under distribution file. I have this. So that this file here, it's in fact the runtime of Autohotkey, just renamed QAC rules.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I'm building dynamically from my script a text file that will be named QAC rules.ahk that I can build based on what the user provided in my application. So if I return to my script, I think is it still running? No.
I forgot that was the autohotkey.exe, and now it makes sense to me what's going on.
So, for example, depending on what rules the user will enable here, so let's say we'll enable two rules, lowercase and replace underscore with space. When I click apply here, I'm building a text file, and I'm not sure where it's saved in this environment, but it creates a text file. And it launched the executable that will launch the the Autohotkey script.
So let me just remind me here again. So you then, however you want to say it, double click, you launch the renamed executable, and that will go look at the Autohotkey file. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So this file here, I'll just.
You trigger that one, and that. So what would you? Is that a feature? What would you call that? Why does it?
It's something I learned from. I think it's Dylan who said that maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. In one of these Friday call, he said, by the way, if you name a text file, if you rename your executable file with the name of a script, it will launch a script. Oh, interesting. And it was the week after I had to do something. Then I remembered, I think it's Dylan who gave us this tip. I don't know if it is how it is documented in the Autohotkey documentation, but it's a feature. I guess it's not an hidden feature. It's something that probably an official feature.
Yeah, and that's what was throwing me, is like, where in the world would I find the documentation on that? Because I don't even know what, like, to find that functionality, in it's launching of a that's
we can try.
And for those of you who are new to Autohotkey, the documentation is stellar, right? It's just because this is very different. You're not calling a specific function. You're leveraging some built-in functionality. It's what makes it kind of confusing.
Yeah, so, and I'm always searching using Google, never search inside the documentation. Yeah, in the documentation, when you search for something specific, but when you search for a solution, instead of searching in the Autohotkey forum or in various sources.
So John, I can give you a first-hand lesson learned. So we recently bought a boat, right? So it's not Autohotkey, but it's still very pertinent to what you're saying here. We bought a boat that had this motor was missing a part. And my partner did everything he could to try to find on eBay or somewhere this missing part. And he's like, they just don't exist. They're all out and blah, blah. And I said, let me use Google to search eBay, even though like he went to eBay and searched for the thing within eBay. I used Google to search eBay, and lo and behold, I found a bunch of them. Yeah. And it was just
Google is so
voodoo.
Knows everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it knows more than the websites knows about themselves.
And I'm sure you know this, but what I do is I'll add into your query up there, your search, I'll add, site : and then the name of the domain. And that locks the Google search down to that domain. But if you're not sure specifically where, what you're doing isn't bad. I like to focus it.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a really interesting.
There would be courses to do if you want to do a new course on Udemy, is how to search the web for help, for Autohotkey scripting help, where to go, how strategies, because you certainly have good strategies by you're doing that for years. So
yeah. Well, I actually and
there are good sources that there some are well known, but there are other sources that are good to know also.
Yeah, and that's the problem is it depends on what you're looking for, and also if you're trying to get help, like it takes a couple years to really grasp it. But I have a couple of videos talking about when I would use Stack Overflow versus the forum versus Reddit versus my own site. I mean, ironically, a lot of the videos I create are for myself because I'll forget how to do stuff. And I'm like, this way I have it documented and I'll go to my own site and remember how to do stuff.
Yeah. We have some people on the YouTube channel.
Oh, cool.
So thank you, Casher67, for confirming. We're just trying to find where it was documented, but didn't find it. And we have Brian with a question here. How you organize your root development folder? I'm not a good example on that because I don't use much libraries. My approach is all in one file, which is not the best, the recommended way of coding. But I can show you if you, I'm doing a program, a quick access pop-up that I am distributing. So part of what is in my folder structure is how I distribute this software. So let me show you for quick access pop-up.
Yeah, and then I'll show you mine after you're done, John.
Yeah.
We can talk through the pros and cons of them.
I'll just close this. So I have this folder here with, of course, a lot of stuff that I keep
sharing?
there. Am I sharing? No, I'm not sharing. So I have a folder named Autohotkey. Under that, I have various scripts, various projects that I have using Autohotkey. And then I have the main folder here that will contain, and I will just select here. So I have this is the script itself, which is 1.5 meg long, and some other tools that works with it. So quick access pop-up messenger, some other scripts that are necessarily used anymore, a few classes that I borrowed from, I don't remember their names, but yeah, the SQLite class and the drag and drop, the list view drag and drop class here, which was, so these are, I put it there. Normally I would have them in a separate folder with or subfolder. So that's where I'm not a very good example on how to do the best way. And then I have subfolders for mainly for the packaging and the distribution of my program. So build is where I build the file. So the executable that are, I have a script, a batch, and a script that will process, add the digital signature, the certificate signature to my file. And all this is done here for my main branch, if you wish, because I have various branches in my repository where I put my code. And there's a branch which is called beta. And so I have the same structure here, but for a version that is more for testing with beta users. And also I have here distribution files, so files that will be embedded in my package when I create the setup program. So for example, the license, the icon files, and file install are files, mostly images, but also a text file for the various languages. And file install is a command in Autohotkey where you can package text package files that will be embedded in your executable, and that will be decompressed or extracted live when you run your script. So this allows me to distribute text files for various languages or icons that are used in the GUI. And yes, and here setup script is the script that are building my my executable, and so that's so probably, Joe, that you have a better structure where you will have your a library subfolder. So that's, I will let you just continue.
Yeah, and granted, now I don't work on stuff, generally speaking, with the size of what Jean's quick access pop-up is, right? And the first thing, actually, before I even show anything, is I was going to talk to Jean is your typical audience aren't programming in Autohotkey, right? So, and I know from when I was creating the free tools for the, you know, even before you start to code in Autohotkey, here are some, I think I have 5 or 6 scripts that I've got that I wanted to give to people that, hey, they're very helpful. But, and I pinged you because I'm like, I know your audience typically isn't, you know, programming on Autohotkey. And initially we had kind of that structure of what you were showing of folders and subfolders with an lib folder and a source folder and this and that. But I'm like, look, these are people who really are going to try to learn Autohotkey, but they're totally new, and using includes and using other stuff and having more than one file alone is going to confuse them. So I said, okay, I'm going to bring them all down into the best I can into one file, and there's one Autohotkey file, and I didn't have includes. Normally I would like to break them out some, but for that purpose, because this audience is, you know, really new to Autohotkey, I decided to just, you know, put it all self-included. Now, let me
and I have I'm very used to do search and to do bookmarks in my code, so it's easy for me to navigate inside my big files to jump where I need to go. And hotkeys like F3 that will repeat your search. So if I want to search for a given variable or function, I search it with F3, I can jump to the various places where it's used. So it's all in one file, and that's the way I prefer to work.
Yeah, well, and Studio will jump there for you, right? So
Studio is probably a very good tool, but I never did the jump to this tool.
Right. Yeah, and so and it has built into it. I can have a function and hit a button and have it say, hey, you're trying to pull this to its own include. And so you type a name and it brings that code out and puts it in a folder and then writes the include for you in your original script. And then you also have, which is what I used when I was packing all the stuff up, is I think it's publish. It will go get the includes and bring them back into your original file and put them all in a
single file. Yeah, to distribute.
So, because if it didn't have those things, I wouldn't do what break them out separately, because it would be a royal pain when I really want to share this and have one file. That would suck. So once he showed me that, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Here is my sloppy Autohotkey folder. But what I wanted to show you was in the like under the lib, I have a lot of library files that I use because the vast majority of the stuff I do with Autohotkey, I don't share with other people, right? I mean, which might sound kind of crazy, but it's like I do a lot of stuff on Autohotkey. The vast majority of it is just stuff for myself, right? It's not for other people. So I use my library files. And then when, so these are all just libraries and things I've used. But then when I'm working, let me bring this over. So you get an idea of, I don't know why this is a directory opus and the search keeps popping up on me. But anyway, I have, these are different things. These aren't scripts. These are, I call it work because it's like a work in progress thing of examples of stuff I've done. And those I have organized just under, different ways. And I got a lot of APIs that I've worked with. And then there's like Autohotkey functionality, which also has its own whole sections. So, which a lot of these do leverage files in my library. So I don't know if that helps you, but like I said, I don't typically, this is for myself. It's not for when I share stuff with other people, but I thought that might help you have a little understanding of.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have your code very well organized and easy to retrieve. But when you have to package your script, you will need a specific structure for the packaging of your, and you have to do it so often when you do updates or beta release, and so that you want to automate that. So I took some time to create my batch file and script file to automate all this. Because it's a lot of steps. You have to create the executable. You have to sign the executable with your certificate. You have. I'm delivering my application both portable in a zip file or easy to install with a setup file. So it's also two ways that it has to be packaged. So
yeah. In the original question, he said he's developed best practice for designing a library of plug and play scripts. Right. So, and also I don't, Brian, I don't know how advanced you are, right? But hopefully you do know that with Autohotkey, you can create like a function library and begin them all with the same, up to the first underscore, you have them all start with the same thing, and your functions can all be in one file, right? And then you use that one include, or just put it in one of the three places that Autohotkey actually looks for it, and you don't even have to worry about it. But that's what I like to do, is to have, things that are used together. This is my Excel function library. And it allows me to have one Excel file instead of dozens and dozens, because I got a lot of Excel functions in here. Right. So I'm not sure hopefully you're aware of that, but.
A question here, do you have some kind of organizers of scripts?
I don't know what that means. So, I mean, you mean
kind
the one that would
library of scripts, or?
Well, I don't know if he means that the script would organize something. Can you clarify?
And of course, there's still these 45 seconds delay between what we say and what we read on the YouTube channel.
Right. Up to 2,500 items. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. and maybe your point is that, yeah, you might want to have separate files, group them into subcategory kind of thing and put them into different groups.
An indexer, for example. Yeah. Another question about Autohotkey U64 UIA. So U is Unicode, 64 is 64-bit, but UIA, what is it, Joe? Do you know that?
That's that's referencing, I believe, it's the newer, not the ACC library, but the user automation. It's the UI library from Microsoft. User input automation, UI automation. Okay. I forget what it's called, but I don't know why that's, the executable is probably just I don't understand. The Autohotkey U64 is the Autohockey executable, 64-bit, right?
Yeah.
The Unicode, to John's
Unicode,
point.
yeah.
But someone probably used the Unicode 64-bit Autohotkey to compile some sort of a UI, Autohotkey script. Would be my guess, because I don't know. I don't think I have that. Let me search my computer, but I'm pretty sure I don't know what that is. I mean, there's a couple scripts in the forum. I think Jethro has one of the original ones on it. But I don't think I have one that's titled that, but I don't know. No, I don't have any sort of an indexer. What I do is I keep it's funny because several of my friends use everywhere or everything. I always get confused on what it's called. I don't know what my files are named. So for me, it just doesn't work because it really works off the names of your files. I keep, as you saw, a very clear structure for my library and it's great because I know how I think. And so I very intuitively put them, I know where I would put it. And so I know exactly where to search. Like here, I'm searching my entire Dropbox because I'm pretty sure where I would put this, but it shouldn't take very long to search it. So no, I don't have that file, whatever that is.
About UIA, I found something on Stack Overflow about the fact that it would allow to run programs without requiring to run as administrator. Automate administrative programs without running as admin.
Okay, now I know. I didn't know that's what that was called. Yeah, I think it's a Lexicos thing.
I've seen something else about with this, yeah, on a very specific issue with this, so it was not a clear explanation, but what I found here, I can just send you the.
Yeah,
I'll send the on the YouTube channel the link to this Stack Overflow page.
Yeah, so if you can't run things as an administrator, or you don't always want to elevate your scripts, if I remember correctly, I didn't recognize it. I don't know why it's called that, but you're right, Jean. There is a tool from Lexicos that will elevate your script, but you have to, and it has to be signed. Is that right? The executable, I think
there was something about certificate. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And there's maybe UIA would be user interface admin. UIA, maybe something like that.
Am I still sharing my screen here?
Yeah.
Okay. So this UI access not working. Yeah, that's what he's looking for, right? Yeah, unfortunately, I'm always.
Is it with or without the USA prompt? I don't know.
Well, it negates the need of the whole prompt thing. That was the.
Yeah.
I believe by signing it, you're giving it some sort of credentials. Will say, hey, it's not unknown, and we're worried about it.
Yeah, maybe it will run only on the computer where you signed it, so that's not on other computers. If you sign it with the self certificate, no, what I really can't tell.
I'm trying to remember this came up. I just didn't recognize the name of it because we didn't talk about it as far as the name of the script, but the concept. And I glanced at it and I didn't see anything obvious that, and nothing seemed to be working, everything I looked at. So I said, all right, whatever. with Linux. Yeah, I believe Almodo, I believe that's what it's doing. It's elevating the process without that prompt. Yeah. Which especially because I've worked, well, one time I had a computer where I didn't have the admin rights, and that was truly annoying. Well, I really gotta be hard for me to forget that I have this call because I keep getting this message box every couple of minutes. Were there any other questions on anything?
Lexicos is calling this UI access, the UIA.
Yeah, now I think, John, do you know if you create the shortcut and then check to run as admin, a shortcut to your script, and that runs as admin, and you launch that still comes up with that warning. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And this would avoid that. Well, while I'm sharing, by the way, this is a script that I wrote. So it by default searches Autohockey, but I can select other things, and then search for John, and I can choose whether to wrap it in double quotes or not, and hit search, and it will go. Oh, of course, put it on the other page, but it'll search all those sites using Google, and it just saves me time to when I'm looking for something to decide where am I looking. Hey, look, actually, that is, well, what is that picture from?
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
1976.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. For some reason, I thought it was like Van Morrison. Anyway, cool.
Hippie years.
I killed my my feed to the live. Let me get back to it. Was there anyone working on it? And does anyone have something they want to join Zoom and chat about? We can, if hopefully you're signed up and can join directly, or I can give you the link. I don't know why my stream isn't coming up, so I can't see the the chat at the moment.
But we're still online on YouTube.
Yeah. So does anyone else have in there working on? Hopefully you guys here saw, and now it sounds like most people here right now at least aren't new, but I did release a new Autohockey Udemy course, and it's free, and it's really for people who are really new to Autohockey and they haven't even really started to program. It's like before you start programming, here's some things you'd want to know. It's an FAQ kind of thing where you can jump around. It's not linear. You can jump around and learn what you want. And I have a part 2 to it, which should be released here, I don't know, maybe in another week. And that one will be a fee, but it's also for new, but it's getting into the programming side of things. Yeah, no worries, Brian. And one tick, were you purposely, so you asked about that UI exe versus the 64 exe. Are you purposely trying to avoid that pop-up for the admin help, or were you just unfamiliar with what that other one was? Because there's several ways if you can get around. There's several good and bad ways to get around that user access control type stuff. I turn mine off, but I'm the only person using my computer and I have a clue what I'm doing. I also have, no, I stopped sharing. I'll show you, and I have them in QAP, of course. But when scripts have problems, so here, let's see, it's Autohotkey. Where's my, no. launching scripts. So I can force run as admin. And so this code, if I change this to Autohotkey, it looks a little better. But it forces your script to always run as admin, which is sometimes, every once in a while, you need that, which is why I have a little template for it. So it'll automatically get elevated. Now, what you also got to be careful about is if you use this script to launch something else, it'll also launch at the same level if that is. So if you've elevated this one, it'll launch the other one as an admin.
Yeah. It can be dangerous if you have something installed on your computer that you're not aware of and that could do some harm to your stuff. So,
and he was just curious what the, and now see, what's weird is like, I don't even have that file. I'm curious, how did you just at one point download it and didn't know? Because it doesn't come default, does it? When you install Autohotkey, I'd be surprised, but I could be wrong.
The UI version?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, it's been a while since I've checked. I'm curious what's the most recent version of Autohotkey even is. I'm at 1.1.33.10. That numbers are so crazy to me. Oh, good. I'm in the current version. John, did you do any updates to QAP lately?
Yeah, bug fixes mostly
Okay.
in the last week. So I just in the zip file in the portable version of Autohotkey installer, there's no UIA version, so you have to find it somewhere else on the website.
Speaking of executables and QAP in general, but the webinar you did also on how to communicate with a running script, I thought that was also really interesting, because there's a lot of, we've covered several different ways to do it, but you led one specifically of what was the commit? No, what'd you call it? The
QAP messenger.
Messenger. Thank you.
Yeah. It allows. In fact, I developed it first for when I wanted to add context menu items to Windows Explorer in order to add a file or a folder to your QAP menu. So in fact, the context menu will call QAP Messenger that will send a message to Quick Access Popup to add this given folder or this given file. So that's the way to use it, the way I use it. I could show you a little more about that if you wish.
Sure, unless someone has something.
Yeah.
I was trying to find, I'm trying to remember what it was actually called. It was a while ago. There's the SQLite database one you did.
Yeah. So for example, if I right click any of these folders here, I have here add folder to Quick Access Popup menu. So what it will do, it will actually launch QAP Messenger with as parameter the folder that I want to add to my menu. And it will open Quick Access Popup, and in fact, it will send a message to Quick Access Popup, and Quick Access Popup will react to this message by launching the same thing as if you would have done if you would have clicked the add button here, but knowing that it is a folder and that it is this folder that is to be added to your menu. After that, I added some other features. For example, if you let's go to my, if you for example show the Quick Access Popup menu by right clicking your desktop, so it will show the menu from here. Of course, I prefer using my hotkey or my mouse button to do that, but it's still available here. So there's a few other features like that that can be launched using QAP Messenger. And there's some more to add. The user are having good ideas on what can be done. For example, to launch any command inside Quick Access Popup, or to launch a favorite from the QAP messenger, because then QAP messenger can also be used inside a batch file to launch something. So it's at first it was used for context menu, but it could be used in an Autohotkey script in a batch file just to launch something from quick access Popup.
Do you think by adding that kind of functionality that you also run the risk of more likely being flagged as a virus?
Maybe as soon as you use DLL call or things like that in your script, you become suspect. But my scripts are signed, so my executable are signed. So normally the antivirus should acknowledge that the script is signed from a known source. So the risk is lower. There's still a risk, especially when a file is new. When there's a new version, for 1 or 2 days, some users will report that this version has been flagged as a potential malware, but it's just because the algorithm of the antivirus does not know. I've not seen that there's been a lot of use of this file yet. So when the file has been used for after a few days, downloaded and installed, so it becomes known as being a clean file. But this is always a nightmare, this thing of antivirus and anti-malware. And
yeah, it's a hassle.
Are you signing with GPG keys? It's signed with an executable certificate. So I can give you one example of one of these scripts. So Komodo is an example. I'll try to find. And one thing I can tell you is that when your certificate expires, do not automatically renew with the same vendor, because the price are changing so much. And I've seen a price that has more than doubled from the same vendor, but looking for another vendor, the price was lower than the original price that I paid 2 or 3 years before, because I'm buying these certificates for a few years because it makes you save. So which one is it? In fact, it is code signing certificate that I should search here.
Well, and I forget it was you that said it or someone else, but they also said make sure you monitor it, because several times a year or whatever they go on, they have big sales as well, right?
Yeah, also. But at some point you need to renew when your certificate expires. So you cannot necessarily wait when you want to renew for the next sale. But so it is SSL certificate. Maybe to answer more precisely the question from Brian, it's not GPG, it's a SSL certificate. No, SSL is for the website. The website, but the code signing, it's here.
Yeah, I remember when you and I were first talking about this, I was getting the two confused.
Yeah. So here we are example here. So 3 years, $70 per year. So it's not that bad, $200. But when you're doing a freeware, that's bad.
Right. Right.
So fortunately, I have donation from user that will cover these expenses, but it's not fun to pay for something that you give.
Brian
So,
asked,
yes, that's a kind of.
He wants to know if you can use your own domain to sign the code, but it's a different type of.
There are two. Yeah, in fact, I have two certificates. One is SSL. So in order to have my website here, having this HTTPS prefix here, so the site itself is signed. So when you download from my site, you know, our antivirus algorithm should know that it is a legit source of download. That's the first step, because the site would be blocked by most antivirus and Google and search engines, because it was allowed to download an executable file without being signed. So it's very hard to do that way. Autohotkey site has this issue. When you download the Autohotkey installer, it's not a signed site. So that's no, is it a signed? The site itself is signed? Yeah, the site itself is signed. It's not that, it's just that the setup file is not signed, so it can be blocked. So that's the second step. The first step is SSL certificate for your website. And then once the file is downloaded, in order to have it installed on your computer without being blocked by your antivirus or anti-malware software, then you have to sign your executable file with this type of certificate that we see here, code signing certificate.
Yeah, and even then, I know from talking to you, and we started going down the route, and it was just, wow, it's confusing. It's a lot of work.
And I still receive users that say your software has a virus in it, and
Right.
no, there isn't, but it's false. There are still false positive. There's a site where you can check for about 70 algorithms and to see what they will report about your script or about your website. And most of the time, 70 out of 70 will say that the site is clean. But if one says that it is not clean, so it's clearly a false positive, because all the others said it was okay, but this one made a mistake. But a user will see just one warning like this and will be concerned about installing the software because it's been reported by Virustotal. That's what I was mentioning.
Okay, yeah. And here you can see,
and you can go, you can check for a file or for URL. So the file, it will check the code signing certificate, and for URL, it will check for the SSL signing of your website.
So look right here alone with the Autohotkey executable.
Yeah,
it's got 2 that came up with security
on 66. Yeah. And these antivirus algorithms are so much optimized to do it quickly, because they cannot take 5 minutes to test every file or every page. So they are using probably very advanced algorithm that does some shortcuts, and with a risk that there could be false positive. And in fact, there are some false positive that will happen. Yeah, that's good what you're doing. So here you're telling Virustotal that this file is a legit file that you are using, and it is clean. So other users that would come here and look for a report on this is it the page or the executable that you are commenting here?
Well, I did that on the executable because I assume if something else had the same exact hash, it would load that. It would know it and load it, right? But you can also go back one and do a domain. So the Automator, just I'm curious. Oh, good, done. But then you can go in and here and make a comment. You could do that on.
And the website is signed. The Autohotkey website is signed with an SSL certificate. So that's probably why there's no report here. No false positive.
Look at that.
Yeah, 2 out of 93.
Anyway, so it's a cool site for at least checking out what you're doing, but it's also very dynamic. So you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and every new release that you do, it's a different executable file, so it is a different report that can. And as I said at the beginning, it can raise more false positive in the first days. Yeah.
Let's encrypt, certbot, etc. Yeah. Awesome. Well, does anyone else have anything they're working on, or any other questions? Just general question. We don't care, right? It's stuff. There's a lot of stuff to learn when you're trying to create scripts to share with people. It's far more complex than just doing stuff yourself.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things.
You have to make it work on any Windows language implementation. So often it's you have characters that are, or just hotkeys that in the Russian keyboard, there are hotkeys that just do not work. So it will raise an error if you set a hotkey, for example, Windows W. I'm taking this example, not sure if it's one of those, but this hotkey on a Russian computer will just raise an error. So that's that's hard to know in advance.
I've got this outlined, and I haven't decided yet if I'll just make a video on it or if maybe we'll do a podcast on it. But it's the steps to go through before you start to code, right? To think about what, identify the programs you're going to automate. Also, are you making sure you're using the best source of the whatever data? If you are connecting to certain data, sometimes you can get it from a better place. Like, let's say you get spreadsheets when really it's coming from a database that you actually could have access to. Go to the database. Break it down into small chunks, determine where decisions need to be made, this and that. But the who will be running the script, will a GUI help? And then how many computers will it run on? These are the things that just made me think about this thing. Is like you'll start off, you'll drastically change how you write your code based on a lot of this. Mm-hmm. Right. And, I wouldn't, if I'm going to be running stuff on a lot of different computers with different people, I almost never do image search stuff anyway. But if I have something that needs to run on multiple computers, you just image search is horrid.
You must avoid to hard code your path to any file. So you would use environment variables like WinDir or program files or user or temp. So instead of hard coding, because hard coded, it will work only on your computer, and yourself, you will discover that this doesn't work when you have a new computer and that you're moving your stuff.
Well, you forget, John, or doing it live, because it never works when it's live.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, well, and actually to follow up a little bit more on that, now, obviously, if you do use like the built-in Autohotkey Windows directory and the variables that will allow it to be flexible, whether you're using it just on your computer or you're sharing it, it'll still work, right? The thing is, each of those little things add a little more time it takes you to do it, right? So that's why I'm like, if I know I'm just using my computer and it's a quick thing, I don't worry about all that other stuff. Yeah. But then you also have to remember, well, now I'm going to, when someone asks for it, often like I don't go back and read through my code and go, oh crap, I hard coded this, or I didn't, I assumed it'd be in the C:/Windows, which is what 95% of computers, right? It's in the same spot, but not always, and things break.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And now with Windows 10, there are many special folders that can be moved by the user. So for example, the My Video folder was always under the users/your username/video or my video, but now it can be moved, so it's not necessarily there. So if you want to be sure that you access the My Video folder, you have to check in the Windows registry to find what's the current location for this user, or there are other techniques that allow to find this folder, but it's something that was not possible with Windows 7 that is now possible with Windows 10 that you have to also to take into account.
Yeah, and to your point, Sean, my desktop and my documents, those I put under Dropbox because I want to have them backed up. And I put them under my quote unquote B drive, which you all saw earlier. That B drive, that's my Dropbox, but I create a fake drive called B. And then the path, which is kind of because I'm lazy, right, John, and it's just a simple way to do it. On every computer I go to, I set it up the same way. So it's always the B:/whatever. The same on every computer. So
good approach.
As long as you have
good approach for you, because you know how to create this fake drive, because it's not an easy task just to create this fake drive. You need a recipe to create it when you don't know how to.
And I actually wrote an Autohotkey script, but because it edits the registry, I just don't share it with people because I'm like, the last thing I want is something to go wrong and people to, but I don't know how old you are, but have you ever used a real B drive? I have, yes.
With floppy disks?
Yeah. Not only that, John, I remember when there was no hard drive. It was just the A and B drive.
A and B,
Yeah. And then C came along and changed everything.
Slow copy. Yeah, and C came with 20 megs. Wow. And $500 for 20 megs. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it is. And it's something to be said as like you look at Autohotkey and how tiny that file is. And it's just amazing what it can do. Because of course
it's always using Windows features, Windows components. So it's a kind of gateway to you to using Windows resources. Brian has another question about Windows 11. did you upgrade to Windows 11? Not yet for me, but I tested it in a virtual machine just to see how Quick Access Popup was running with it. And I was happy to see that it was running very well. So there's been no glitches, given the fact that Quick Access Popup relies a lot on Autohotkey, that relies a lot on Windows calls. And so Windows 11 seems to be very upward compatible if you come from Windows 10. Now, are there advantages using Windows 11? I haven't used it enough. Dialog box are nicer. There's a few cosmetic changes. The taskbar is centered, or instead of being left justified or left.
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to show here was you can't have this. Mine's up here. It has to be either the bottom or the top, but you can't have it on the left or the right.
Yeah, I can share a virtual box where I have Windows 11 here.
Oh, cool.
It will take a minute to start.
Yeah, and I haven't done it either. John showed me how he created the virtual drive, but I just, until they fix that little bit where you can't put your taskbar on the side, I have zero interest in switching. Because even then, everything I've read about the new stuff in Windows 11, it's all superficial crap that I just don't care about.
Yeah. So this is Windows 11. It's a version, a pre-release version. So that's not the actual version. And I'm not sure if there's been a lot of changes. It was maybe 2-3 months before it was released. And I was not able to create a new VirtualBox with the live version. So I have to find a way to do that. So the main difference is that your start menu is here instead of being here. And then all your task bar icons are centered. You have these icons here that are the taskbar icons that you have also on the right side. This has not changed. And if we look at Quick Access Popup on this machine, oh, that's the setup program. So no, I'll just launch it here. So it's very similar to the scroll bar here. There's a horizontal scroll bar here that we can avoid by making this, but things are a little more round. So if I go to add, the buttons are a little bit different. The focused control is kind of underlined instead of being, so there's, you know, when I switch from one. So this is only visual things that I've seen. Are there more substantial changes? I couldn't tell. I don't know, Joe, if you have some experience with it or.
No, well, Brian was asking, he actually brought up the fact that IE was not installed on it. And I look into it and I'm pretty sure you can add it back, is what I had read. I'm trying to remember where I just read an article about it and said like, oh, okay, you can enable it on Windows 11. But I need to find out where it was I read that.
I haven't noticed, but in fact, Edge, of course, is pre-installed.
Settings,
under
apps,
add.
features.
So where settings,
apps,
add or remove programs.
No, I don't. They said under apps, click start.
Yeah,
and then open
apps.
settings.
Yeah, apps and feature, and here
optional features.
Nothing under Explorer.
Yeah, look for optional features. I think it's kind of like the, you know, you have to.
I don't see any optional list here.
Is there anywhere it says optional?
No.
How about, can you do a find a setting, put optional in there and see if it filters it down for us?
Optional features. Yes, add optional
features. Add optional features, yeah. And then from there, it sounds like, oh, look,
Internet Explorer mode, enable mode functionality in Edge. So it's still Edge
well, but
working,
this is saying,
yeah. So not sure if your API calls will work in this.
This says that you can add Internet Explorer, so I think it still might be somewhere. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and they say uninstall, so it means that I already have this mode installed.
Yeah.
Don't know how to enable it, but because
well,
here in.
Can we let's try to create a COM object with IE and see if it launches. You want to try that, John?
What do you suggest to?
That we use a COM object in Autohotkey to try to create IE?
I would give you control of the screen and you could try it.
I'm pulling up my web scraping syntax writer. Pointer create IE object.
I'm not even sure I'm not even sure if Autohotkey is installed on this machine.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, let me check that first.
I'll put in
it could be a long way to get there.
Right.
in a live webcast.
Right. I hear you. I put it in the Zoom chat if it is there. It's just 2 lines. Yeah, someone wrote me.
There's no Autohotkey on this machine yet. So
someone wrote me the other day and said, hey, we all know IE's dead and blah, blah. I'm like, well, I actually was automating IE yesterday. I was watching these auctions and I had pre-built that I can go and rip the part. It's for vehicles, for cars and trucks. And so it gets the elements I want, dumps it into a spreadsheet for me. And this site thankfully still allows IE to load it. So I'm like, okay, I agree it's on death row, like it's dying, but there are times we can still use it. But yeah, it's the thing is, it's so much easier to automate compared to Chrome or anything else.
Mm-hmm. So I'm installing Autohotkey on this virtual machine. So
cool.
If it goes well, we can try. And you put the code somewhere?
Yeah, in the Zoom chat. Yeah. Which, if anyone's interested, I'll put it in the YouTube chat as well. It's just you're creating the COM object, storing it in a pointer, and then making it visible because IE on its own is hidden unless you tell it to be visible.
Yeah. So downloading is very slow on my VirtualBox machine.
At some point, I would love, and this is where maybe Tank probably, I know Isaiah's, RaptorX could have handled it, but we talked about it. But the whole, DLLs and COM objects, and sometimes you'll have a DLL that's not registered, and then you have to go, and you probably once in your life run through this, once or twice had something where it's like it's not registered, and people tell you to go to the command prompt, type some stuff, and it'll register it for you. And to me, I'm like, well, I wonder, as long as if I have that DLL file, let's say from like Windows 10, could I bring that DLL file over to Windows 11 and then register it? Like, this is where I'm not a geek enough to know, can I do these kind of things? I think you can, but I'm very curious. And I forget, was it Brian? Yeah, I don't know if you've seen my web scraping syntax writer, but it's awesome because it just helps you write your Autohotkey web scraping code for IE, and it just can really, save a lot of time. I have one for API calls as well. Is it getting close, John?
Getting there. Okay, so I have a script here, an hello world script working. So I'll just add your piece of code here. Share my screen. Okay, that's a new script I created. So I have your piece of code here. Should I just save and run it?
Yeah, you're good.
I'll just move this.
You think the person that did that first hello world knew really like they're going to live in something?
Yeah, should have taken a brevet in French. What is it in English? A copyright or something like that. It would be rich.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just run the script and nothing happens yet, but it can be very slow. So I have the hello world.
Boy,
so it
right.
executed the first two lines
Right.
here.
Right. That took.
And then show the hello world. So is there something I should see?
Yeah, it should have been visible. I'm
Yeah,
really
it should show
surprised.
a window. It should show an Internet Explorer window.
Yeah, and I actually thought if it didn't, it would have not understood what that COM object was and would have given you an error.
Yeah.
But the fact you didn't get an error, that's perplexing to me.
I'll try it again. I just close Edge. And we'll run it again here. So it's doing something at some point because you should see the blue circle in a second. Yeah, you see the blue circle. So it does something, but it does not show.
So it seems like it's trying something.
Yeah, and it fails. So maybe that we could check for an error. Is there error level here? Oops, something happened. Okay, so it launched Edge with a non-specified error.
Now, there is, because I accidentally, when I was doing my web scraping stuff the other day with IE, I accidentally turned on Edge to replace IE, and then I had to learn how to disable that. And I'm curious if possibly, you need to disable that. Let me find it. It should be in my history here.
Joe, would you have another topic for a few minutes? I would have to just take a short break.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, actually, I do have one I can talk
I'll stop sharing and be back in a minute.
Yeah. So, Ryan, I was mentioning, no, it doesn't require dev mode. So, and I could try to demo at least a little bit of it. Let's see if he stops sharing. Let me, oh, that's hilarious. I hit the share button for the YouTube stream, not the Zoom share screen. So, sorry, give me a second here. There it is. Share screen. I thought this somewhere in here, and let's make sure I can find. Oh, here we go. This is what we need, what Jean needs. Edit default. Anyway, I'll whatever. So I have control. So let me grab. This will just get you at least in the ballpark. Trying to figure out where in the world does the YouTube. That's, oh, I see. The Zoom chat is covering the YouTube chat. So that'll get you to the right extension. Move that out of the way and this out of the way. And then one of these other ones, actually, you know what? Let's just move this over here. So here I have 3 different quote unquote, I actually can't call them scripts, because what I realized was you can have hotkeys. So these are the hotkeys. So left control, left shift B, and left control B, which actually I meant to get rid of that the other day because it really messes this up. There we go. Caps lock. I'm going to delete that for now too. And here we go. So this is my script that it would go and run this. And notice it's pretty simple stuff. So document query selector all, very similar to the Autohotkey stuff, but this is JavaScript, right? And I'm shoving it all into a variable to pass back. But what I realized with this script is you can notice up here, I switched it to where instead of this code, it's actually running this file. So I'm like, oh, I can execute stored JavaScript on my computer. So I could use Autohotkey to write a JavaScript file, and then with the hotkey trigger this, and this would go read that JavaScript file and execute it, and then have it actually the way I wanted to do it was it would store it in the clipboard, because there's a functionality here. You can tell it to do all the stuff and shove it into your clipboard, and then with Autohotkey, I could just take it right out of the clipboard and do what I want, right? So this is my sort of workaround right now. Instead of using Geek Dude's Chrome class, and I'm not knocking it, it's just much more complex. This is for like one pager kind of thing. I just need to automate a form, So to me, I'm like, yeah, this is, it's pretty cool. This is what I was doing. I don't remember what. Oh, this I was on the government. This is a different website I was scraping, looking at stuff. But yeah, you get the idea that you can use a query selector all or the other things that are readily available. And I think somewhere in here you can actually type, or you can have the Chrome. Like I can open the developer tools here, go to the Chrome console and type, and once it works, bring it right into that script, which is just really, to me, really slick, very easy. Jean, this was, if you have Edge open,
Yep.
Let me put this in the chat. This is the text that if you want to try it. Where? Sorry, I got so many different chat windows open and stuff. It's confusing. So in the Edge browser, if you can throw that in the URL, it should pull it up, and then you can
I'll share.
Select never from the Let Internet Explorer, or select get rid of that. Yeah, thank you.
I'll share my screen. Windows 11 here. So in the URL, I paste this.
Get rid of the double quotes.
Yeah,
without the quotes. Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, Internet Explorer compatibility. Let Internet Explorer open sites in Edge.
So see that very last one, allow sites to reload in Internet Explorer mode. I think you want to enable that, I think.
Okay. I'll close the browser and try the script we did earlier.
Well, yeah, I'm curious. You still can, but there was another option there, and I think it was set to only those that were incomplete and sites only, so incompatible sites only.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that. What are the other options on that one? So so never is what you want to select there, because that's saying let Internet Explorer open sites in Edge, and I think we want never, because we don't want Edge, involved.
Mm-hmm. Okay, closing it, testing it. So no error message, but there could be a delay because it's a very slow virtual machine.
Yeah, but that message box is after, I would think, the GUI.
Yeah, but maybe it's still working, but no, there's no round circle, blue circle here anymore.
But from what I read, I'm pretty sure you can. Well, I guess I still say, from what I read, you should be able to install it. Now, maybe it's there's more complexity to what we're discussing, but yeah.
I'll try the other option just to see if we say always. Is there anything we could try here to test it, or putting a URL, or?
Well, we could do a navigate, but it's still, without being able to see it, it's We should be able to see it. Those two lines should give you
Yeah.
everything. You know. At some point, I'll go back. I know you gave me the link to the tool for this thing, because I should be playing with Windows 11. I'll put up my radar of something to do.
So I'm trying to launch Edge, but it does not launch for now.
Hey, we fixed it. Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah. You would think you'd still be able to launch it directly. Yeah.
I'll just, whoops, what's happening here? I'll just try a different combination. So not using this option here, restart. It's not restarting, but I'll start it manually.
And from talking to Tank, he thinks at some point Edge will have a COM object. So that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But see, this is all the stuff you're playing with is the Internet Explorer compatibility. I still think, you know what? Can we look on the program files folders for that quote unquote computer, whatever you want to call it, and see if IE is suddenly there?
Would it be 86?
Well, who knows? I would assume so, but I'm trying to remember I never go there.
Yeah, it's here.
Oh, okay. Can you keep going further and see if you can launch it?
I'll try.
It switched to Edge, didn't it? Yeah.
Is it Edge?
I think so.
Yeah. Close Microsoft Edge.
But the fact is you have it, which is it's a good start.
Yeah, but again, I'll try just to make the options to what we tried before, and then I'll try to launch it. So here always, no, never, you said.
Yeah.
And here, this option here. Closing it. I don't know if you see it, there's a window that's flashed for a fraction of a second. So maybe it's just relaunching.
My bet is in either A, you're using a beta version and maybe things are just not quite configured yet.
Could be.
Or B, there's still something in the registry that someone at some point will figure out how to disable it and stop, get it to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sneaky Microsoft. Yeah. Did you try run it as an admin? I'm just curious. I don't think that would help, but
there's Internet Explorer also in the
interesting. Yeah.
I'll check this one just for fun. It did the same. What was your question?
Just run it as
browsing or under recommended settings. No, thanks, get it now. I don't know why it's telling it. It's as if I was running Explorer instead of Edge.
Right.
But here we see close Edge.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just saying run it as an admin.
Okay.
No, that one didn't. I didn't see the flash at least.
Yeah, there was one. Yeah,
okay.
There was one. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, don't know. Yeah. So, but maybe because it's a Windows 11 pre-release version that I'm running here, so I don't have access to the current one.
The thing is, I mean, there are a lot of computers out there that are older and websites as well. And, I think it's still going to be around. The Microsoft won't love it, but I think we'll have access to it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
I need to get going, but and thank you, John, for joining. This was fun. Maybe someone will chime in and often they come back later and help us solve things. So maybe someone will offer a solution here.
Yeah. See you next week, maybe.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.